Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Today on The Young and the Restless, Phyllis remembers the accident. Victor needles Billy and Sally, and Sharon gets rid of Cameron. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. At the club, Adam spots Billy and Sally kissing. Victor turns to look and muses. That's interesting. Adam asks what is interesting. The fact that the obviously came from one of their suites, or the fact that they're holding hands. Victor asks if he thinks it's what it appears to be. Adam's sure of it, and curses Billy out. He's sure he's using Sally to get back at him and calls him a total loser. Victor tells his son to listen to him. Billy Boy Abbott and Sally Spectra. That's a match made in hell. He urges his son not to let them see him get angry. They'll know they've won. Adam calls the waiter over to send Billy and Sally a bottle of champagne from him. Victor nods. Now that's well played. Esther closes the coffee shop and tells Sharon she can do the sugar. Sharon says it calms her. Esther muses. You wouldn't want to get all worked up. She stammers on for a few minutes and then apologizes. Sharon asks if she's okay. She's alone in a room with a cold-blooded murderer. Esther says, "You're not cold-blooded." Sharon lets her know how sorry she is for what happened. Esther feels the only reason she could be guilty of this is because she's very, very sick. Sharon says a lot of people would condemn her for what she did, and they'd be right. Esther argues she hasn't been herself for a while now. She recalls that Sharon yelled at her once, but she thinks she was actually yelling at her troubles. She hopes she can get the help that she needs. Sharon tells Esther she can go home. You've done enough already. Esther leaves and Sharon locks the door and turns out the lights. Sitting, she muses. If Esther noticed who I am, Cameron appears and says, she must think you are one sick puppy. To be honest, you better hope the judge and jury hope the exact same thing. It's better to be making potholders in Fairview than to serve a life sentence in the state pen. Cameron goes on about the slop they serve in prison and says her skin will turn gray. She tells him to stop. Cameron continues that the sad part is her family will never really trust her again. Sharon says they love her. Cameron needs her to face reality. She's the crazy pariah who murdered a mom. Eventually they'll stop visiting, and she'll die alone and forgotten. Sharon says this is not real. He is not real. They are done. Cameron asks why she keeps calling him back. You dragged me here. Why? Sharon says he's there so she can end this. I don't need you anymore. Goodbye, Cameron. At the hospital, Nick chides Phyllis for kicking Chance out. She'd much rather talk to him. He says she looks good, alive and talking. She thanks him for saving her life. Nick reaches out and takes her hand. Nick tells Phyllis that Chance helped. He's glad they got to her in time. She asks how he came to be there. He says they heard the crash at the wedding and assures her it didn't mess up the nuptials. Phyllis states that she's alive because he walked through fire for her. Nick grins. Not quite. He tells her it was scary seeing the flames and her trapped inside. It took both of us to get you out of that car. Phyllis owes him her life. I will never, ever forget that. In the club dining room, Adam watches as Billy and Sally chat. Billy tells Sally that he hopes what happened upstairs doesn't change the friendship they're building. Sally feels closer to him now. The waiter comes with the champagne from Mr. Newman, and Billy and Sally declare they won't be drinking it. Billy tips the waiter after telling him to make sure to charge them for it. Sally wonders if Billy will use the bottle as a weapon. Billy's enjoying himself too much and waves at Adam. Watching him try so hard not to let his head explode is worth it. Sally thinks that little bit of revenge they wanted. They got it. At Adam's table, he rants to his father about Billy's dad jokes as he hears Sally laugh. He wants to punch him. Victor warns him not to go over there. Billy's not worth it. He urges him to devote his time to Chelsea and Connor. Adam doesn't think that's in the cards. Victor says Sally was nothing more than a diversion. She's a user. Adam will find the right woman and fall in love again. Adam doesn't think he has a heart left. Victor insists it's not the end. He'll find someone. Adam stands up. Good night. Pop. Billy and Sally wash and walk out, and Billy says they got under his skin. In the hospital, Nick grills Phyllis about whether he saw Sharon in the other car. Phyllis says she was texting her and trying to lure her to her house. Nick asks if she's sure Sharon is the one who did it. Phyllis is sure she was texting her to come to her house. Nick says that was just before she confessed everything to Chance. Phyllis says, see, she probably thought she'd killed her, and that pushed her over the edge into confessing to Heather's murder. She couldn't have another death on her conscience. Or she thought she had evidence. Nick concedes that it makes sense. He's just wondering if there's another explanation. Phyllis tells him to stop. She's confessed to killing Heather, and she's in a hospital bed. Please do not tell me you are on Sharon's side. Phyllis gawps. You're not really on her side, are you? Just then, Michael appears with a big smile and tells his friend it's good to see her mending so quickly. Phyllis asks Nick to answer her question. He doesn't have an answer and is just glad she's okay. He leaves and Michael tells Phyllis she gave them all a scare. Phyllis asks him to please explain to her how he can defend the woman who tried to kill her. Michael says even the guilty deserve representation in court. Phyllis reminds him he's her best friend. But not anymore. He's defending the woman who framed her son and tried to kill her. Not only that, but he got her out on bail. Michael argues Sharon's not a threat to society. Phyllis begs to differ. She killed the love of her son's life and tried to frame him for murder. My family. What kind of friend is that? Michael's sorry she's so angry. This is who I am. This is what I do. I defend people in trouble. He reminds her she was in trouble and had someone defend her. Phyllis killed a man in self-defense. What is Sharon's excuse? Michael says, she may be mentally incapacitated. At the club, Victor sidles up to Billy and Sally and says, my goodness, out of heartache comes romantic promise. Billy warns him to watch himself as they both try to get rid of him. Victor suggests she hire him at Marchetti Z, but cautions her not to give him too much power. Billy tells Victor this isn't over. Victor urges him to enjoy the champagne. He doesn't have too much to celebrate these days. After he walks off, Sally tells Billy she's sorry about that. Billy shrugs. Let the old man have his fun. If he thinks he has the upper hand, he won't see him coming. Then he will have something to celebrate. At Crimson Lights, Cameron tells Sharon she needs him more than ever. Sharon rebuts that he twists everything. And now Heather is dead. Cameron says choices were made and the wrong person died. She made those choices. Sharon says she's stronger and doesn't need him anymore. It's time for him to go. For good. Forever. She squeezes her eyes shut and opens them. He's gone. A knock comes at the door. It's Adam. Sharon lets him in and points out their clothes. She says she was working late. He notes she was standing alone in the dark. He's concerned. She's out on bail for murder and must be a wreck. She's surprised he's not keeping his distance. Adam says they've been through way too much together, and he's in no position to judge. Sharon points out he was a child when he killed someone. Adam says that when he remembered as an adult, he was a mess. Only one person reached out to him. What can I do to help you? Nick joins Faith and Mariah at Society. They wonder why he's late. He says he was with Phyllis at the hospital. She's awake and going after Sharon even harder. This time it's not just Heather. Phyllis is convinced that Sharon wanted her dead. Mariah thinks it's crazy that Sharon tried to run Phyllis off the road. Her blackout may not have had anything to do with the car wreck. Nick says she saw the flames and saw him and Chance, but didn't reveal herself. Faith recalls how wound up her mother was about Phyllis. She said she was going to make her back off once and for all. Mariah insists it's not Sharon. Nick tells them that Phyllis got a bunch of texts from Sharon asking her to meet her at the house to make a confession. Faith asks when it happened. Nick says around 6:00 p.m. Faith said she didn't have her phone at the time. They were at the coffee house, and she'd left her phone at home. Nick states it couldn't have been her that texted Phyllis. In the hospital, Phyllis tells Michael that he can't defend Sharon. She needs to go to jail for a long time. Michael says she was having issues with her medication. Phyllis can't hear that anymore. She's been attacking her family members for months. This all goes back to Cassie's death. She's never really forgiven Daniel for it. All of this is decades of bitterness and resentment. She gave something in anger at Heather and killed her. It's premeditated retaliation, not a psychotic break. Michael refuses to have this argument. Phyllis begs him not to take this case. Michael's heart breaks for her, but he will defend his client to the best of his ability. Phyllis doesn't think their friendship can survive this. Michael loves her, and nothing will change that, but he won't back down or be intimidated into quitting. I'm sorry. In the club, Sally asks Billy what else they should toast to. He replies, to bringing down Victor Newman so hard he never gets up. At Society, Nick asks Faith if it's possible that Sharon snuck off to text Phyllis. Faith says there was no phone and she seemed genuinely worried about where she left it. Maria feels Phyllis may be lying, or Faith has the timeline wrong. If not, Sharon is lying and had her phone and really did lure Phyllis to the ranch house. At Crimson Lights, Sharon tells Adam it's kind of him to want to help her, but she can't let him do that. Adam reminds her there's no dark road she's taken that he hasn't been down himself. Sharon points out they haven't always brought out the best in each other. Adam says the flip side is that they'd also saved each other more than once. Sharon thinks it best he doesn't get involved. This is something I need to face on my own. Adam nods. Up then. Good luck, but I'm here if you change your mind. Once alone, Sharon gets a text from Nick. He knows it's late but wants to talk tomorrow. In the hospital, Phyllis tells Michael that Sharon deserves to go to prison. My son and granddaughter deserve justice. But she's walking the streets of Genoa City. What are they going to do when they run into her? While he's patting himself on the back after getting her a cushy stint at Fairview, what about her family? Where's the easy out for her son, Lucy? You're doing that. You're precluding them from the peace that they need to give them justice. Oh my God, you all yourself, my friend. You are so cruel. Michael's sorry she feels that way. Phyllis had known Sharon was guilty and dangerous all these months. But you go ahead and defend her. Michael says she has no proof. Phyllis scoffs. You're a coward. He steps out to take a phone call, and Phyllis flashes to being distracted by texts from Sharon in the car and to the accident. She gasps. No. Michael reappears and asks, what? She says nothing. I'm fine. Next on The Young and the Restless, Nikki embraces her new role at Chancellor Industries. Billy loses his cool with Jill, and Jack works to repair his relationship with Kyle.